Hey church, Jared Miller here. I'm the Minister for Families at St. Andrew's Presbyterian Church. And the other day, I had this unique privilege of joining in a conversation that actually spanned 4 continents. On a Friday evening, a few of us met up on Zoom to talk about this question. Is there a joy in missing out? We talk enough about the fear of missing out that it has its own acronym. FOMO. As in, that looked like so much fun, I had major FOMO. But as this new normal is wearing on and the reality seems to be setting in that we are in this together for the long haul, the search for joy has become a kind of holy grail. It's been one of the major themes that we've been looking at in our Thursday afternoon study, Life Online series. As we've been studying Paul's letter to the church in Philippi, the letter that we call Philippians, which is all about finding joy in the middle of a prison cell. And there's a Zoom link to that study in the description of this video if you would like to join us tomorrow or really any Thursday. But finding joy in a time like this can be difficult because joy and happiness are not the same thing. Happiness is easy. Happiness is a delicious meal or a funny movie. Happiness is a great book or just snuggling on the couch. Happiness is your kids actually listening to you the first time you ask them to do something. And happiness is talking to someone you love on the phone and having a great conversation. Happiness is when your external realities match your internal expectations. But joy is so much more complicated than that. It's internally driven and free from circumstance. It can't be marketed or sold like happiness can, and it can't be explained or quantified. Joy just is. And so when the Apostle James picked up a pen and started writing a letter to Jewish believers wherever they might be found, he didn't start by telling them to find happiness in their current circumstances. After all, he knew that some of them had been exiled or shunned from their families and their faith communities for daring to believe that Jesus was who he claimed to be. For some of them, the situation was far worse. Few, if any of them, were having a good time. But nevertheless, here's what James wanted them to hear first. Brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of any kind, consider it nothing but joy, because you know that the testing of your faith produces endurance. And let that endurance have its full effect so that you may be mature and complete, lacking in nothing. Turns out there is a joy to be found in missing out. And because how many families have suddenly realized how overprogrammed their life was back in the before time? How many couples are getting a chance to reconnect because they aren't spending all their free time running their kids in a million different directions? How many projects are finally getting picked up off the I'll do that later pile? How many books are getting read? How many DIYs are being undertaken because we suddenly find ourselves with the gift of time? How many churches are finding new ways to reach more people because the walls have come down and we're finally being forced to be missionary and bring the good news of Jesus where people are already? Joy is fundamentally about draping God's way of doing things over top of our way, so that in these gap times, we can still see that there is a plan. I understand the challenge of missing out. The Creek was supposed to launch worship on Good Friday. But there's joy in missing out. Because sure, I'm disappointed. Sure, I was looking forward to it. I put a fair bit of work into it. But now God is giving us this new way of reaching out to people who live south of Fish Creek without the barriers that come from planning and hosting an event. I was supposed to be going to take the Alpha Leadership Training in London this May. But there's a joy in missing out because now Alpha is having to figure out how to meet digitally. And I get to participate in that instead. Mondays used to be the days where I would spend time with my daughter, where we'd go grocery shopping and hang out at the gym all day. We were going to start swimming lessons in a couple of weeks, but there's a joy in missing out. Because on Monday we went for a drive in the mountains with her in a forward-facing car seat for the first time and sang Raffi together. There's a joy in missing out if we dare to ask God what it is that we are missing out for. Let endurance, James says, have its full effect, so that you may be mature and complete, lacking in nothing. As we begin this Easter season together, as we begin this journey toward through the great 50 days and toward the Feast of Pentecost, our prayer for you is that you would be lacking in nothing through this time. That God might be using this time to enrich and nourish you, mind, heart, body, and soul. And so please continue to take care of yourselves, and please continue to take care of each other. All the best for now. Talk to you soon.